Hello everyone, welcome to my channel again. I just came here to give a quick match reaction and also state of things for the club Man United after the huge win against Arsenal. Um, I had some thoughts going into that game, and also I've been observing some things about the way the game was going to be played, the kind of tactics that the manager was probably going to adopt. And I noticed some very important things about just Man United more recently. I know it's kind of too. It's still. I feel like it's still a little too early to judge Carrick right now. If everybody would remember, uh, under Ruben Amorim, there were some flashes of brilliance that we see, and some of these may not necessarily translate into the team actually being cohesive, and mentality wise it might not have translated, but we could see, because against the bigger teams, the team played pretty well. I would say that maybe the game against Man City at the Etihad was probably the game that we looked like we're not up for it. Um, and then I think for me personally, the game against Chelsea, the one we won at Old Trafford, was also a little bit, it wasn't like up to what the performance wasn't. I mean, we got the result, but performance was not up to what I wanted to see, especially given that it was nearing almost 1 year at the helm at that point in time. But overall, I think the struggle really always had been against lower ranked teams, lowly placed teams. We struggle to break them, and we struggle to come up with results. In fact, I would even say that we don't create as much chances against these kind of oppositions, and we are not clinical. We're never clinical. So it might be a ball just hitting the crossbar, or just something crazy that have all the opposition keeper just pull off a Superman performance, and we're not able to get past him. So a lot of things like that happened during Ruben Amorim's term, and I think that this win against Arsenal at the Emirates, I think it's a little bit different. I think it's a little bit different. From a Man United perspective, it was beautiful watch. I personally don't think that we could have, done anything more than we did. They talk about like giving all that you could give. The players were really up for it. From the jump, they were really there. Maybe first 10-20 minutes, Arsenal they seem like the more threatening team, and that's understandable just because they are home, and you expect them, for a team that has never dropped points apart from against Liverpool and Man City at home, expect them to have like a quick and better start than Man United. It's not like we've had any good or great run of games for us to start games like this at a very high pace. So that was understandable. But what stood out to me was that for complete 90 minutes, the team knew what they wanted and they went for it. There was no overcomplication of anything. There was no second guessing your teammate. I mean, there were some missed passes here and there, but I think that's expected, because even a team as good as Arsenal, they had their own time as well where they weren't really moving the ball, forwards, and they weren't finding out their teammates every time. So I think it's understandable if you miss some passes during the course of the game. But what stood out was still that they at that point they were all together. That team was together. That team knew what they wanted to achieve, And not it was like, even though there were crowds, even though there were like people that were chanting against them, it didn't bother them. On the gameplay, it didn't really bother them. They didn't come. I didn't see any player that was like, you know, that I felt was out of place, or wasn't up to speed, or was scared, or had that, that soft underbelly that is very common with an Amorim team. I didn't really see that. Now, like I said, it's still a little early because it's just 2 games, whether you like it or not. Consistency, you know, requires a lot more than that. And you have to, you must have been tested against a variety of teams, not just the top teams in the league. You must, understand how, lower place teams, how you play against lower place teams, how you try to break them down, and how you try to get chances. So these are the things that will still matter in due time, because a team like Arsenal, for instance, they've played against virtually everybody in the league. They've beaten almost everybody in the league. I think they've beaten everybody across time that Arteta has been their manager. They've beaten everybody in the team, basically, in the league. Maybe not Man City, I'm not too sure, but yeah, they won a lot of games against different oppositions. This is just 2 top teams. We played well, but I think yes, at this point, I would say that with that thing that I'm always used to seeing, where it's like you just know that there's just that thing that is like, it's not going to end ecstatically. You're never gonna get that final. You're never gonna be able to get over the line. That edge would never be there. I think that was not the case today. Um, I think that was not the case today. I think the players knew the assignment and they went for it. I think the players understood that this is Man United. This is what we want out of this game. If things don't go out of our way, we're going to keep it within our own limits. We're going to make sure that this is all, the outcome of this game is going to be because of our effort. If nothing goes against us, and you know what I mean, maybe a fluke on goal, or maybe just something out of the ordinary that you are not expecting. Those happens a lot in football, which can completely change the course of games. But I think today they were like, you know what? If none of that happened, we're gonna give this game everything that we need, and they did just that. There was nothing complicated. There was no thinking too much on the ball. There was no expecting players to be at a specific position and not finding them. The players were calm on the ball. They didn't really throw a lot of balls away like that, even though, of course, they were. I think I noticed Kobe Maino at some point, it was losing. I think he lost like two different passes that were kind of not. And it wasn't in a pressure situation. So that kind of stood out. And the reason why it stood out is because it wasn't a lot. It wasn't a lot of those kind of misplaced passes that we were seeing. And also, I think in the first half, Bruno wasn't finding a lot of passes. He was trying to hail the ball. But that's the only thing I can pick out of the bunch. If this game had not gone this way, would I have made like a different observation? Would I have said it's not? Would I have changed my stance towards Bruno and Mainu? I don't think so. I think on the flip side, I would have said that what I noticed especially was just the fact that the team was up for it. I was expecting that the same thing that has happened throughout the Amorim tenure I was gonna see some of that, which is just this soft underbelly, like you're not sure of yourself, you're not sure that you can actually go all the way. You just know that at some point something bad is gonna happen. I was expecting that, so I was kind of cautious, but I didn't see that at all. So I'm thinking, you know, this is good. This is a good feeling to have. It's good to. It's one thing to like. It's one thing to be scouted as a good player. It's one thing to have good agents that can make moves for you, and it's another thing completely to understand what it means to play for Man United, because the pressure at this club is so huge that you can get lost finding yourself. And I think this is something that Ruben Amorim did not really understand. It didn't really get across to him. Like, he didn't really understand where he was. And I felt like he did a lot of things that just pointed to the fact that, yes, he did not really know where he was. Because if he knew where he was, there are some things that you would probably have understood, and you would know maybe the players might be feeling. If you know where you are as a manager and you take that seriously, that translates over to the players, and you kind of have an expectation. You're not going to come out and say that, okay, we need a lot of time to do this even after 1 year. You're not going to come out and say that there are some things that you don't believe in. You're not going to say that you lost against some teams, but the team is probably the worst team you've had, the club has had. There are some things, and I'm not trying to pull out faults in many of the things that he said, but at some point it felt like he did not really understand where he was, and that is a difficult place to be. If your manager, as a player now, if your manager does not know where he is, there's a 100% chance that things is never gonna. Even if you have the talent, nothing is gonna work well for you. There could be some fluke wins, but since you don't know where you are, like, you might just think you won't really have a direction of where you're going to. And I think Ruben Amorim was a fantastic manager, especially at Sporting. I think I started seeing some changes, even at Man United. I started seeing that the team was a little more like, they were going for duels, something that was missing for most part of 2020, the last season, essentially. There was a little more energy. And I started noticing that from the last preseason. But still, you could tell that this guy does not really know where he was. Now, managing clubs is not just knowing about where you are. It's way deeper than that. But I don't believe that for a team like Man United, you can actually hide from that fact. I don't think you can beat that one. If you don't get that right, you're really gonna struggle. This team don't even give you any chance. It doesn't give you time. But if you know where you are and you know what is expected of you, then you can start building along that line. Changing formation and putting square pegs in round holes is not gonna be what you're doing. But like I said, this is not to shame or to paint Amorim in a bad light. It's just to see that, yes, I'm happy that there were some things I was expecting that I did not get to see, and that shows that mentality wise, the team might be getting somewhere. We still have to see the way we still have to see the way, like, we play against other teams that are not like trying to attack you. But so far, I've been impressed. I still don't believe Carrick should get the final call for the job. He came here to be an interim. It should be an interim. Even if he becomes the second, even if he wins all the remaining games, I still don't believe. I think there's always gonna be like a shift in what was the case. And then now you're making it, oh, it's not permanent. That doesn't always translate well. It needs a lot more experience under his belt. And that is the only thing that I think is missing right now. He just needs to do more and see more and experience more. Now you can add the fact that he was here as a good player for the club. He's cerebral. He understands the game. But I think he needs to go out there and do more in terms of management, and then he can come back later. For now, let's give it to someone that is established, fully established, and understands what Man United means. So that's my take on the game. Good win for the club, and I can only hope for more days like this. Bye.